Good day, panelists. We are Group Z3069, and today we are going to present to you our virtual presentation of our final defense. My name is Aldejan E. Madalo, and together with me is Jaida Lampria and Anjo Jet Panalagan. And here is our topic of our research: the influence of gay language to the colloquial communication of heterosexual students at Tagum College. Now, as you can see, our independent variable here is the gay language, and our dependent variable is colloquial communication. Now, for our introduction of our research, we have here society comprises numerous individuals from diverse groups, and each group has its language to speak and communicate within the groupings, which can influence other people in their surroundings. And gay individuals are one of the said members of the group in a society. Now, gay people have a distinct vocabulary known as gay language, which sets them apart from most of the population. Now, according to Rubiales 2020, gay language or gay lingo is one of the most active, but informal language patterns emerge in the country. On the other hand, there are various types of communication processes, with informal or colloquial communication being one of the most popular because it is employed in daily conversation with family or friends. Colloquial terms are vital when dealing with informal communication since they are words or expressions regularly used for a specific language. Now, according to Literary Devices.net 2014, colloquial communication is informal communication used in our daily conversation with our family or friends and utilized in conversation as reflection of the person's identity, character, and general expression. Now, this is our research questions. The questionnaire on the influence of gay language to the colloquial communication of heterosexual students at Tagum College used this as our interpretation. Now, for the range of means, we have five with a descriptive equivalent of always. This means that gay language was very positive among heterosexual students at Tagum College. Now, for four, we have often. This means that gay language was much persuasive among heterosexual students at Tagum College, and we have three for sometimes. This means that gay language was moderately positive among heterosexual students, and two for seldom. This means that gay language was less positive among heterosexual students. And lastly, we have one for never. This means that gay language was not persuasive among heterosexual students at Tagum College. Now, for our independent variable, which is gay language, we have four indicators. The first one is sexual preference and identity with five questions. Then communication with friends with five questions also. And talk about gossips with five questions. And lastly, sense of security with five questions also. Now, for our dependent variable, the same range of interpretation to measure the level of colloquial communication among heterosexual students is being used. We have the range of five, which with a descriptive equivalent of always. This means that gay lingo was very much positive in colloquial communication among heterosexual students. Four for often. This means that gay lingo was much positive in colloquial communication among heterosexual students. And three for sometimes. This means that gay lingo was moderately positive in colloquial communication among heterosexual students. And two for seldom. This means that gay lingo was less positive in colloquial communication among heterosexual students at Tagum College. And lastly, we have one, which means never. This means that gay lingo or gay language was not persuasive in colloquial communication among heterosexual students. And the dependent variable, which is the colloquial communication, has three indicators. We have first the words with five questions, phrases with five questions, and lastly, aphorisms with five questions also. Now, for our theories of in our research, Mr. Andrew Jet Panalagan will discuss this form.
Good day, panelists. Today, I'm going to be discussing the research theories of our study entitled The Influence of Gay Language to the Colloquial Communication of Heterosexual Student at Tagum College. So our study was anchored on Vygotsky 1934 language acquisition and sociocultural theory, which emphasized the importance of observing, modeling, and imitating the behaviors of attitude and emotional reactions of others. In addition, Kolek 2003 states in his preposition on gay language that it is considered to be a language of one's sexuality and identity. He also added that homosexuals considered using gay language as an expression of one's sexual preference and identity to communicate with friends, to talk about gossip, and as a sense of security. Furthermore, another preposition that was anchored in our study is from Halal 4 and Hassan 2017, who states that colloquialism is informal language or everyday language that is used as an informal word or expression in a conversation between people. They also added that there are three different types of colloquialism, namely words, phrases, and aphorisms. Now let's proceed to the method or the way we gather our data for our study. So our data is a quantitative, non-experimental research design utilizing the correlational techniques to investigate the relationship between our variables, the independent variable, which is gay language, and our dependent variable, which is colloquial communication. Without any research bias or manipulating any of these results, the researchers of this quantitative study purposely selected a total of 200 responses from those qualified students who are heterosexual. Qualified participants used the survey questionnaire via Google link form to assess and answer them at their convenience. So now let's proceed to our results and discussion of our study. Shown in Table 1 are the mean score for indicators of gay language among heterosexual students at Tagum College, with an overall mean of 2.88 described as moderate, with a standard deviation of 1. The cited overall mean score was the result gathered from the following computed mean scores from highest to lowest, starting from 3.20 or moderate with sexual preference and identity, with a standard deviation of 0.922 or and 2.79 or moderate for communication with friends and a standard deviation of 1.11. 2.76 or moderate for talk about gossips with a standard deviation of 1.12 and 2.75 or moderate for sense of security and a standard deviation of 1.15. This means that the respondent's response to gay language is moderately positive in most cases in the items of sexual preference and identity, communication with friends, talk about gossip, and sense of security. Now let's proceed to the table 2, or the mean score for indicators of colloquial communication among heterosexual students at Tagum College, with an overall mean of 2.58 describes as low, with a standard deviation of 1.6. The cited overall mean score was the result gathered from the following computed mean score from highest to lowest, starting from 2.60 or low for words with a standard deviation of 1.9. 2.55 or low for phrases with a standard deviation of 1.10, and 2.59 or low for aphorism with a standard deviation of 1.9. This means that the respondents' response to colloquial communication are less positive in most cases in the items of words, phrases, and aphorism. So the further discussion slides will gonna be presented by my co-researcher, Ms. Jada Lamprea.
Good day, panelists. So here are the continuation to the result and discussion. So the table 3 show the significance of the relationship between level of influence of gay language and colloquial communication to the heterosexual student at Tagum College. So the result revealed that gay language versus colloquial communication yields an R value of 0.911, which is significant. The result is due to the p-value of less than 0.00, which is lower than the 0.05 level of significance. This led to the decision that the null hypothesis, which stated that there is no significant relationship between the gay language and colloquial communication, and is rejected. This further means that there is no significant relationship between the two variables correlated. Based on research on the relationship between gay language and colloquial communication, it is evident that the use of gay language has no effect on colloquial communication to the heterosexual student in UM Tagum College. Therefore, the correlation result exemplified that the influence of gay language on the heterosexual student in UM Tagum College is moderate, while colloquial communication is observed to be low. The next slide shows the conclusion of our study. Based on the study, findings and presented data show that the gay language of the respondents does not influence the colloquial communication of the heterosexual student at UM Tagum College. The level of gay language among the heterosexual students in UM Tagum College are all moderate for sexual preference and identity, communication with friends, talk about gossips, and sense of security. And the overall mean level is moderate level. The level of colloquial communication among the heterosexual student in UM Tagum College is low for words, phrases, and aphorism. The overall mean level is low. This means that all measures described in colloquial communication to the heterosexual student in UM Tagum College were less positive. Thus, there is no significant relationship between gay language and colloquial communication with heterosexual students at UM Tagum College. The next slide shows our recommendation. In these findings, the following recommendations are offered. Every heterosexual student might be encouraged to use the gay language creatively and apply it in conversation. Activities in terms of speaking can always practice in language learning process to boost the student confidence in expressing their ideas using gay language. Familiarization with the linguistic terms and categories must be discussed to support the students in improving their linguistic ability about the gay language. And follow-up study may be conducted with the use of language in a new pace, with new sets of participants and questions on different language functions. Upcoming research should gather formal monitoring and evaluation of the influence of gay language on other people to deal with their objectives and questions, or to know the outcome of whether the influence of gay language can be positive or negative. Lastly, it may provide future researchers with a starting point on how to expand the research coverage in terms of variables covered in the study. For future researchers who want to study a singular topic, more respondents can be better if the aim is to know the effects and influence of gay language among heterosexual as a way of communication. Lastly, here is our reference, and that's all. That's end our discussion. Thank you.